Welcome to the house of Benai Yisrael, Boston, where the chosen of the Most High dwell within Yeshua HaMashiach. We know who we are, we believe in who He made us to be, and we are rising from the ashes. In the book of Genesis, we read a story about a man with 12 sons. And in the midst of all they go through, the brothers decide to sell their brother Yosef into slavery. They throw Yosef into a dark pit before some traders pass by and they sell him. They lie to their father and tell him he was eaten by a wild animal. Jacob goes into deep grief believing his son is dead. How many times has the enemy deceived you into believing something in your life was dead? It was gone. It was never coming back. It was in the grave. This story is so profound because it was surrounded with choices of death or life. When you continue to read on, there was a famine in the land, and Jacob is forced to send his sons to Egypt for food. He was forced to send his sons to a place that meant death and bondage for a lot of people. You see, the graves of fallen Israelites were scattered in Goshen. But what he didn't know was there was life there for him. There was peace there for him. There was love there for him. And there was a desire to live there for him. You see, his son Joseph is alive. Joseph was beaten, falsely accused, and thrown into prison, only to be risen from the dungeon of his grave to be appointed the governor of Egypt. When the drought came, Yosef had control of all of the food in the land, and everyone had to come to him. When his brothers came to him, they didn't recognize him and didn't seem changed in any kind of way. So Yosef came up with a plan to learn if they were truly repented from what they had done to him. Yosef asked for them to bring their youngest brother to him, and they were grieved by it. They went back home and told their father the request of this Egyptian governor that was now holding one of his other sons for a prisoner. Genesis 42:38 is Jacob's answer. But Jacob said, "My son will not go down with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left. If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray hair with sorrow to the grave." You see, Yosef and Benjamin were the sons from the wife that passed away. He truly loved her. He labored 14 years for her hand in marriage. She was the flowers to his grave, and since he believed Yosef was eaten by wild animals, Benjamin was all he had left. He wasn't ready to give him up. He wasn't ready to part with him. He couldn't bear the pain of the death of someone else close to him. So it's here we will start our journey and discover the many lessons from the grave. Jacob replied, "My son will not go down there with you." In other words, I will not risk his life. I will not entrust him to you, and I will not go searching again for the remains of another child. I am not ready for this. I can't take the pain again, and I am still grieving for my son that went down in the grave. It was too early. It wasn't his time. I should have been there. You should have been there. If all of you weren't so irresponsible, I wouldn't have had to send him to check on you. My son is gone. He's in the grave, and his younger brother will now meet the same fate that he has. He is safer here with me. Safer where I can see him, touch him, smell him, and hear his voice. I will be his covering, his protector. My angels will watch over him when I close my eyes to sleep. My sword will protect him when anything comes to harm him. He goes on to say, "For his brother is dead, and he is left alone." In other words, you can't begin to comprehend what we are going through. My wife is in the grave. my son in the grave. And the only tie I have to them now is Benjamin. The only tie Benjamin has to them is me. It's just us. I can't let him go. I can't let my heart be ripped out my chest a third time. I know you being my sons and seeing me put them before you hurts. But Yah has a plan for him. He will grow up to be what Yosef was supposed to be. He will be my successor. He will be the head and not the tail. And I need him to bring me joy. Every time Elohim opens my eyes, if any calamity should befall him along the ways in which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow to the grave. Job 3:21-22 says, who long for death, but it does not come, and search for it more than hidden treasures? Who rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they can find the grave? Jacob, though expressing his heartfelt feelings and remaining grief from the loss of a wife and son, ultimately had to make a life-changing decision. Do I focus on the grief from the grave and let my people starve and my son stay imprisoned? Or do I trust the Most High to bring everything up from the grave so that many shall live? 1 Samuel 2:6 says, the Most High kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up. In other words, time to make a decision. Time to wake up. Time to open your eyes. Time to stop doing it all on your own and trust the Father to see you through. Allow your loved ones to help you. You don't have to do it on your own. You have a tribe that will go to war for you. A people that will follow you. And Yah has a ram in the bush awaiting for your arrival. Job 10:19 says, I would have been as though I had not been. I would have been carried from the womb to the grave. If you don't wake up, you are destroying your purpose. You're wasting what you were born to do. Those that are waiting to cross your path will be redirected to another, and your talents buried in the grave. It would be like you were never here, like you were never born, like you went from the womb to the grave. Jacob ended up allowing his son to go down to Egypt to redeem his other son, to provide food for his family and animals, and to fight for the survival of his seed's destiny. They were facing one of the worst famine they've ever been through, and their only salvation was in Egypt. Once Jacob realized that, the grave no longer had any power over him. The enemy no longer had any power over his people. The enemy no longer had any control over his destiny. Psalms 49:15 says, but Yah will redeem my soul from the power of the grave, for he shall receive me. Selah. Sometimes we forget what Yah has done for us. Sometimes we let the enemy guide us one foot at a time to the grave. Sometimes we listen to the voice of the enemy, causing us to backtrack and step out of the will of the Most High. There are children of Yah and children of disobedience. Which one are you? Psalms 9:17 says, the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget Yah. When Benjamin arrived in Egypt, another piece of the puzzle was fulfilled. The grave may bring dreams, whether asleep or awake. The grave may cause you to go through bondage and despair, confusion and resentment. You may be forced to look at yourself and all the decisions you made that affected the lives of others. You may have said something out of anger, hurt someone close to you, drove people away who cared about you. But Benjamin has arrived in Egypt. and it's time to receive your miracle. Yosef saw his little brother for the first time in years since they were little boys. And no matter how long he tried to hold it, no matter how long he tried to hold the tears, tried to conceal it, his love for the brother that came out of the same womb as him overtook him, that he could no longer contain it. His love for a brother that suffered the same pain as he did when their mother made her way to the grave gave him power, grace, and mercy to help his family away from the grave that had such a grip on his brothers and father for so many years. Listen, feeling their brother was dead, but yet he lived, feeling that sin was buried, yet it stood in front of them, feeling they would never be forgiven if the truth ever got out, yet the grave opened up and supplied them not only with food, but with life, redemption, forgiveness, and salvation. The grave no longer had any power over them. Acts 2:24 says, whom Yah have raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be holden of it. O death, where is your power? O grave, where is your sting? We are more than conquerors. We are more than capable. And we're children of the Most High, a royal priesthood, with Yosef as the dirt and Benjamin as the grass that grows freely from the grave. Everything is open to you, though it may seem closed, though it may seem covered, though it may look like the gate is closed and locked. You have an Elohim. That would be the promise to you. You won't have to search for it. You won't have to dig for it. You won't have to lie for it. You won't have to pretend for it. All you have to do is drop the shovel and go get Benjamin. Drop the shovel and go get Benjamin. Psalms 30 verse 3 says, O Yah, thou hast brought up my soul from the grave. Thou hast kept me alive, that I should not go down to the pit. Jacob told his sons, my son will not go down there with you. My son will not enter his grave with you. He is innocent. There is no blood on his hands. He is the part of me that is left that is pure. He is the part of me that deserved greater, that didn't defy me, that didn't turn against me, that would never betray me. Benjamin was now the link between the old and the new. He was the bloodhound that leads to his brother's forgiveness and his father's release from the grave. Proverbs 15:24 says, the way of life is above to the wise, that he may depart from hell beneath. Being that Yosef was now reunited with the branches from his garden, he now needed the tree that still carried his family on. It was time to send for his father. It was time to pull him out the grave of despair. It was time to pull his memories of Yosef out of the grave. Yosef wasn't there. He was in the land of the living. He was the governor of Egypt. He had all power to pull his people out of the grave that famine was digging. The grave will soon be a thing of the past. A trial he overcame. A test he passed with flying colors because he didn't let his faith waver. He didn't give up. He didn't let go. He kept on living, kept on fighting, kept on believing. I can see Jacob's face light up when not only does his sons return, but they return with Benjamin. They return with the blessing. And this blessing has the greatest news to tell his father that is burning inside of him. Dad. 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 He's alive. He's alive. Who's alive, son? Yosef. Yosef. He's alive. He's not dead. What? How can that be? Dad, he's the governor of Egypt. And he has sent for all of us to move to Goshen, where he will see after us. We are safe now. We won't starve. This storm won't beat us. It won't beat us. It won't overcome us. It won't take us down to the grave. We are rising up. We are resurrecting. And we have been given another shot by the Most High. Genesis 45:17 says, Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your animals and depart. Go to the land of Canaan and take your father and your houses and come to me. And I will give to you the good of the land of Egypt, and you shall eat the fat of the land. And you are commanded, you do this, take for yourselves wagons from the land of Egypt, for your little ones and for your wives. And take your father and come, and your eye let it have no regard for your vessels, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave wagons to them, according to the mouth of Pharaoh. And he gave provisions to them for the way. He gave to all of them, to each one, changes of clothing. And he gave to Benjamin 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of clothing. And to his father he sent this, 10 donkeys bearing the good things of Egypt, and 10 she donkeys bearing grain and bread, and food for his father on the way. And he sent his brothers away, and they went, and he said to them, do not quarrel along the way. And they went up from Egypt, and came into the land of Canaan, to their father Jacob. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive. He is ruler in all the land of Egypt. And his heart froze up, for he did not believe them. And they spoke to him all Joseph's words which he had spoken to them. And he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, and the spirit of the father Jacob revived. And Israel said, it is enough. My son Joseph is alive. I will go and see him before I die. Jacob's spirit revived from the grave. It revived. They were entombed in Canaan, with famine and death surrounding them. But the father said, not yet. This is only a lesson. I have a breakthrough in the way, because you have been faithful to me, because you have obeyed my word, obeyed my commandments, honored my Sabbath, honored my holy days, and took care of my people. Because of that, Benjamin is on his way. Because of that, the grave is open. And because of that, all demons have to flee. All demons have to flee. Even though we are in the last and evil days, even though death is knocking at the loved one's doors, even though we are treated like we are less than human, Benjamin is on his way. Benjamin is coming. He's walking towards us. Benjamin is on his way, and he has the backing of his brother Yosef. If you're following the Most High, you're coming out. You're going to be released, but you can't come alone. You can't come out alone. Go get your brother. Go speak the truth. Make way to go into the prisons. Send literature into the prisons. Get the message out, because Yeshua HaMashiach is coming for the remnant of those who honor his father. You have been forewarned before the great terrible days come upon us. Yah is awakening Israel in these very last days. The dry bones are coming together, and the body is recognizable. Don't lose your crown due to a technicality. Open your eyes. Open your ears. But most of all, open your heart. And for those listening who are engrafted in, I say shalom to you. Let your light shine, and your knowledge of the truth spread forth. This is Yosef ben Yisrael for the house of Benai Israel of Boston, where the chosen of the Most High dwell within Yeshua HaMashiach. We know who we are. We believe in whom He made us to be, and we are rising from the ashes. Shalom. I walk a thin line, son, when I'm aggravated. Look at my life, I was born to be elevated. I'm not a slave, I'm a child of the risen king. Born in these streets, I was prone to do greater things. Taken advantage of, right? I made my decisions, thrown into prison cause I couldn't stabilize my mission. I'm walking forward now, of course, I'm a better man. Don't need no bullets cause the sword is in Yeshua's hand. I'm sick and tired of the bull, you won't even learn. Burn to the world, to the stomach like a bad perm. Stop being angry, man, for what? Son, just live the moment. Obey the Sabbath, don't stop people like a little rodent. Of course I wrote it, I'm a Hebrew from the motherland. Slam on the upper doctrine into the trash can. So tell me, black man, why do you follow Torah? Because this new world's corrupted like a bad odor.
Why, oh, why do you wanna fight with me? We're all just part of one big body, one big family.
Let's get together, man.
Why, oh, why do you wanna fight with me? We're all just part of one big body, one big family.
Taking the stress off my heart, son, for just a minute. We fight on Facebook all day when the work is finished. Cussing and arguing, it doesn't even serve a point. Posting them porno pictures, I don't need to see them joints. That's not the conduct of a righteous man searching out Yah. We supposed to be set apart, life like a star. I'm a true believer, speak what you don't even have. My granddad spent too many years throwing up cash. My freedom lasts just as long as I tolerate it. Soon as I break it, I be chained to a world of hatred. Touching my family, I never want you mad at me. I just wanna reach the truth like a canopy. We gotta stop this foolishness till our work is done. Till Abba comes back to receive the Son. I'm working daily to receive what he got for me. And I'ma fight for my family to the death of me. Backsliders.
Why, oh, why do you wanna fight with me?
Why you wanna
We're
fight?
all just part of one big body, one big family.
Let's get together, man.
Why, oh, why do you wanna fight with me?
Why you wanna
We're
fight?
all just part of one big body, one big family.
Let's get together, man. Yo, this song is a dedication to my Hebrew brothers and sisters. Stop the fighting. Stop the screaming at people on corners. It does nothing for the kingdom. Nothing. And for those separated living in camps, come on, man. Don't divide yourself from your people, man. Cause there's no division in the kingdom. None. Time to come together and get it right as one nation. One nation. One big family. One big family. Hebrews. Israelites. Isaac and Ishmael both have a promise. Right. And there's gonna be a number in the kingdom that none of us can number. Yeah. Backsliders. Yosef and Yisrael. One big family. Stop that craziness, man.